Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elonin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you all had amazing weekends. Spencer Israel, Joel Elonin, Dennis Dick with you this morning. We are down pretty much across the board. We'll talk about why we think that is, except Bitcoin, of course. Obviously, crypto is blasting off. We'll talk about that as well. We are into the retail earnings season. So every retailer under the sun will report this week. We'll also look ahead to maybe some 13Fs tonight. We got a couple of them already. We'll take some questions in our chat. As always, try to cover as many stocks as we can. Our guest today, Tim Quast at 8:35 and Matt Hammond from IPO Warriors at 9 o'clock. Before I throw it to Joel and before he shares his screen, please smash the like button. And as a reminder, we are T-minus 5 days away. Right? Or 6. I can't do math.
And before we throw it to Joel.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? You're keeping me in the dark.
We have a surprise for Joel and a surprise probably for most of the listeners. So I'm just cruising around. I never go on Facebook, but for whatever reason, my spiny senses or something was just telling me, go on Facebook and just take a look. And as I just log into my Facebook, Joel, you need to get a Facebook account.
I do have one.
Oh, he does have one. He doesn't know how to use it, though. He's like Johnny Lawrence off of Cobra.
We have a PreMarket Prep one.
I haven't been on Facebook in over a year, but continue, Dennis.
So anyway, I go on Facebook, and I have this big pop-up message that comes at me on the Facebook on the Spencer Israel feed, and it says, "She says yes." That's what it said.
You're kidding me.
No,
Spencer.
Joel did not know this. He
Spencer,
didn't go on Facebook.
Yeah,
you're adding to your position in life.
Yes, I am.
Well, it's about time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Unbelievable. She's fantastic. I've only met her. I think I've met Ariel twice. Fantastic person. Congratulations, Spencer. Congratulations, Ariel.
Thank you.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you. Thank you. Joel, I was going to tell you, and then I thought, nah, it'd be more fun if I just waited till Monday morning.
Joel's kind of in shock here.
No,
So tell us about it, Spencer. Tell us about it.
How'd you do it?
Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you. How'd I do it? We went down to the riverfront, right, which is, a area of significance to us, and her family was all there waiting. They had been there before with a photographer, and we went down and did it at the riverfront. And then we came back to the office, and so for those of you who've never been here before, we have a ticker outside of our building that we control. So I had a couple of guys make up a sign for me that we put up on the ticker. You know what? Maybe I could just log into Facebook and
just show it.
Oh, really? So what day was this?
This was Friday after work.
Oh,
Friday after work. So I had it up on the ticker and everything, and it was.
Go over the ticker. I saw it on Facebook.
Took over the ticker. Yeah, it said Ariel said yes is what it said on the ticker. I have to figure out how to log into Facebook.
That's it. I gotta see that because
I'm still trying to figure out how to log into Facebook.
Yeah.
No. I have a Facebook. I don't know where the passwords. And PreMarket Prep has a Facebook. Hey, the other thing too, while Spencer is,
I got it.
Let's see it. I gotta see this. Let's see this.
There we go. Should I zoom in?
Yeah, zoom in.
Yes.
So this is right outside where the Benzinga office is. That ticker's hanging on the Benzinga office floor, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's like up the side of the building. So here, what if I just zoomed in?
Let's do it.
Go down. Go up. There we go.
Go up. There it is. That is awesome.
Wow, and they got the pick up there and everything. Let me know when the day is, because I want to be available to be the best man.
Obviously.
But what do you guys think in like a year or so?
Yeah, next fall.
Yeah. Wow.
Hopefully Canadians will be allowed in the U.S. by then.
Hopefully.
No, you are. I heard the borders are open.
Oh, you got to go over. No, only one way. It's only one way, Joel. The Canadians are letting the Americans. If the Americans still don't want the Canadians, you got to fly. You can fly over the border. So if you fly, you're good to go.
All right, I'll share my screen here in 1 second. Hearty congratulations, Spencer. Ariel's a great girl, so
Thank you.
couldn't be happier for you.
Thank
You
you.
pulled it off, and man, oh man, that's
It was 2 months in the making, man. It took me 7 weeks to get that ring. I'm short all the jewelers because it took forever.
you short the jewelers. You should have went to Jared.
That's right.
Should have went to Jared.
Should've.
It's enough advertising for Jared in the D.
But hey, just real quick before we go to the screens here, we are. If you want to sign up for the event and you're in Canada or anywhere else in the country, go to premarketprep.com and there's another link there for you. It's going to be updated and a Canadian link.
Joel,
yeah.
the problem.
So it took me some while. Mitch helped me figure it out, but man, and did some work on that this weekend. And man, is that going to be a fun and educational event. So everyone,
Canada.
we're going to get the Canadians and all those, Dennis says he has all these Canadian friends. I guess we'll find out.
It's like all my Canadian friends want to sign up. And
we'll see.
It's only through US, but now it's everybody. Everybody can sign up. So no more, everybody can sign up. No more excuses.
Okay, so here we go. So let's go right to the index. And Dennis, we do the pre-market prep, and it's like the same thing. When I saw this Afghanistan news, I'm like, I wanted to text you and say bullish, because everything is bullish for the market. But this one I felt
it's hard to be bullish.
Yeah,
on at least this headline. I kind of thought the S&Ps would get a little bit of hit too. We haven't been talking. The markets haven't been worried about obviously terrorism, but when you look at what happened with Afghanistan over the weekend here, and I don't know if Spencer or Joel wants to enlighten everyone. I think most people probably know that it looks like U.S. troops pull out and Taliban quickly moves in.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's pretty much.
That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Like immediately, like imminently, like we aren't even fully pulled. U.S. isn't even fully pulled out yet, and the Taliban's already taken over. I mean, 20 years fighting this war in Afghanistan, and as soon as the U.S. troops leave, the Taliban retake over. And it's kind of undoes the whole 20 years. It's tough. You feel bad for the Afghani people, but obviously, with Taliban taking, you start to think, oh, is there going to be, this give them more leg up on terrorism as well? So, not a good weekend for Afghanistan.
Well, maybe our country should have listened to Dwight Eisenhower when he said many, many years ago, and applying to the world, never fight a land war in Southeast Asia. I know different region, but man, we're like 0 for 4 over there. So who knows? But we just got to talk about we don't talk about political implications. We talk about market implications. That made me want to sell the S&Ps at flat at 62.50.
Did you?
No, 50. It opened lower and only went up to 59. So I was a little on the cheap. So we're down 17 handles, pre-market low, 44.41. We're just off that. It's always the same scenario. Do the buy the dippers just hold that pre-market low? We go unchanged on today, or do we have some more work to do on the downside?
I don't feel like this is a headline that everybody's going to be spooked on. I don't think this is going to turn the FOMO, into
I don't think so either.
Losing out, FOLO, whatever you want to call it. So I tend to think they'll probably buy the dip on this again, because that's just what this market does. If you're a betting man, you go with the odds, and the odds say they'll probably buy the dip again, but we're overbought. There's no doubt in a lot of, in the overall index, there's been a lot of individual stocks that have got smashed around, but rotation has kept us higher. FANG is the new leaders. I mean, Apple's back up near the highs, knocking on the door 150. Microsoft breaks out to new all-time highs on Friday.
Yep.
The Facebook is starting to look like a cup and handle pattern and wanting to go higher there. And then you have Amazon, which really hasn't got it together after the earnings report. So it's the one component of FANG that hasn't got it together. But it's tough to bet against this market. So if you're coming in buying puts or loading up shorts on this, in normal markets 5 years ago, I'd say yes. In this market, I don't know if I want to bet on the short side. So, I'd invest cautiously, which I am invested cautiously. But as a trader, buy the dip just seems to always work.
gives you a little, at least you have some reference points here, at least in the S&Ps. Like, this would be a really great day if they take this thing back unchanged and post another new all-time closing high. We've only done that in like 5 of the last 6 sessions. Every day except for Monday last week, we made a new all-time high, the new all-time closing high. So those are pretty tough statistics to keep up with. But real quick, I want to run down the crude oil down $1.36. Delta variant concerns, of course. Gold, that's up, or that's down $2, 1776. That's trying to get back over 1800. Silver in the red by 28 cents at 23.49.5. Bitcoin, I'll talk about just for a second. We're over that 50% retracement, up 1175 at 47,680. And Ethereum, I'll tell you why I'm bullish Ethereum here, even more bullish, is that my buddy Ira is in town and we do different things. He didn't come in for a football game this year, but he came in for a long weekend, and we went to the TCS Center and we saw an exhibit called Beyond Van Gogh. And what it was like his art, but in digital form, digital presentation.
How much was that art in digital form?
I'm
Still
sorry.
A lot of money. Were they said they were it was just a presentation, or were they? It
was a 45-minute exhibit, and man, oh man, that guy. You think we're crazy? That guy, just what a genius. But anyways, it told his story, his paintings, and I'm thinking, man, this has got to be done with Ethereum, right? This digital art, and just think if you could transform like all the Van Goghs into like digital, like you get your digital Van Gogh. I mean, I don't know. It was really impressive. It was a lot of fun. So Ethereum, I'm more bullish than that, but than Bitcoin. I mean, if you actually have a use for it. But anyways,
I just saw those Tom Brady NFTs.
Yeah,
tweeting about it, and it's like they were coming on the market. Shizzy in the chat knows about this stuff. But they're coming out, and I guess if you win the lottery or something, they do a lottery on some of these things, and if you're early, then you can turn around and flip them. And like, but I was watching these Tom Brady NFTs going from in the secondary market from like from like 2,000 to 18,000, like 28,000. One of them was going for over 100,000. I'm like, this is what it's autographed. I mean, this is what a Tom Brady autograph is. A digital autograph's worth $100,000 on a picture.
That
There's
is
only 25 of them. Until he comes out with the next 25.
Guess what the next one is?
What is it?
Wayne Gretzky.
There's somebody making a lot of money. Who is the company that we should invest with here, Mitch? Like,
and Spencer knows too.
We go back to the tops, or not really?
It's not like that.
Yeah, tell me. I don't know how to invest in it. I got Ethereum, so I'm playing it that way. How else are we making money in these NFTs?
Well, for most people, it comes down to buying and flipping, basically, right? That's what it is.
Is there a public company doing any of this? Like, if we bought a stock, is there a way to play this through the stock market besides like Ethereum?
That's what you mentioned Tops, and you mentioned and DraftKings and Hall of Fame Resorts. That's what all these companies that have announced NFTs. That's the idea. But the problem is, just because someone says they're doing NFTs doesn't mean the NFTs are going to have any value, right? So Playboy is right, same thing. So
I like the Playboy, as a NFT Playboy,
but you don't know if they're going to have any value, and no one can say if any NFT is going to have any value or not. So it's sort of a crapshoot.
Well, they all seem to have value right now. Somebody telling me, these digital frogs and digital penguins going for thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases. I personally just don't understand it, but obviously when this first started, we saw this a few months ago. I completely dismissed it, but as I saw it, I was like, well, I'm going to buy some Ethereum because this NFT stuff doesn't seem to go away. And most of it, Mitch, is that a correct assumption? Most of this is still based on Ethereum?
For sure. Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's still based on that network. And if I recall correctly, speaking of Joel getting excited about crypto again, if memory serves, Joel did get excited about Bitcoin in I think it was October 2017, Joel. It was October.
Was it 18? I can't remember.
No, it was 17. It was 17. And then you sold January of 18. You sold right before
that 20K. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And it was a nice run. So everyone, let that be a lesson. Joel played the Bitcoin up the first time around, caught the top. And the temporary top, at least the short-term top, and he's getting excited again. It sounds like.
Yeah, I'll go with the Ethereum route this time, but oh boy, no, it was impressive. If you guys are any of you Detroiters here, you get a chance, you should definitely go check out that exhibit. It's pretty amazing. But do we want to? We're 16 minutes here. Do we want to talk some individual stocks?
Probably
what do we
Tesla.
got moving?
Yeah, probably Tesla. Big headline from Tesla and NEO. We can do them together.
We have Tesla is there was an investigation. I'm kind of surprised it took this long. This is a report from Bloomberg, and an investigation into Tesla's autopilot, and it's from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the NHTSA. And it's related to all the models, the X, the Y, the S, and the 3. The autopilot function on those models, and we also have a car accident in NEO. Remember, and Luke brought this up to me this morning. Remember, a few years ago, there would be a new Tesla accident every 3 to 4 months, and every time people would say, "Oh, Tesla! Oh, this accident's terrible," and it would impact the stock for a day or two. Well, maybe that's happening now in NEO. And there was an accident over the weekend involving a NEO ES8. And so it's now, you have the crackdown over in China on the one hand, you've got this accident on the other hand, and someone died over the weekend. So I guess there's been 2 accidents now in recent memory involving these NEOs in China. So you get the regulation on one hand, you get accidents on the other, and then you put 2 and 2 together and sort of figure it out from there. So those are both weighing on EV stocks this morning.
Wow, Tesla, the level of all levels, the extra super duper support, as Mr. Elconin likes to say. You don't have to be a rocket science to figure this one out. It's 700. It was classic resistance 2-3 times in June and July. Broke out through that at the beginning of August, and then has held that support like a champion. It's coming down to that support again. That's your level it has to hold. You don't want to see this breach like 697, because then it gets slippery slope, because we went up in 2 days from 650 to 700. So if you're bullish, yeah, I think you got to stop yourself out under 697. I mean, if you're long term, but if you got this on for a trade, that would be where I'd be stopping myself out under that 697. Maybe they do the undercut and rally trick, but the 700 is critical.
Yeah, and it feels a little heavy this time. Like before, when it came down to this area, and now it's just it's come down so many times. You haven't taken out your 2-day low at 699.40. I guess. I mean, it kind of feels right now. Can't make any guarantees in these markets. It kind of feels like it's going to breach that 700. Maybe, let's see. But it's one of those things. Right? Does it find support at 696 and close at 703? One of those things. So yeah. I would look at it more. Kind of feels like it's going to happen today. Let's see if it happens on a closing basis. I just don't like the real estate under 700. You had 2 big days where it went up and goes up quickly through an area, comes down quickly through an area. If you get a look at 1714 or 1714.34, that fills the gap from yesterday in the close at 717. So I say it looks like we're going to dip under that 700. The question is do the buy the dippers come back, get it to close above it? And then NEO, before earnings, Mitch and I were talking about this one. And when someone stacks up at a number ahead of a report, you got to respect it. And it all the highs weren't in the same area, but it was just under 46. And you had like 6-7 highs in the area.
Couldn't get through it.
Yeah, doesn't give you any. I mean, that's not going to do you any good today. Your next daily low is 38.66. You have to wait for that. Currently trading at 39.25. But wait for it maybe to do this kind of formation on the downside, on the downside like it did on the upside. Of course, that was ahead of a report, so you had people jockeying for positions. But once again, pretty thin area here now that you're taking out that low from yesterday, which is, if you're looking for a gap fill, you don't have far to go. Only 40.61.
I'd be a seller of rallies on NEO.
Yeah.
I don't know if I come in when it's down 4% and selling, but it's just the valuation.
It turned.
Kind of feels like the story The EV story has cooled off. I mean, not for lithium stocks though, which is something that is we haven't talked about for a bit. Do you see the move in LTHM? I'm still long it. I was obviously from Gene, from Jason, multiple people giving us that back at $5.
Yeah.
Now $25. I sold a chunk of it, but I've still got a chunk of it. Also LAC, I'm long that one as well. They're going to be pulling back, and LAC kind of had a nasty day on Friday. Making a new high and then almost trying to make a new low. Not quite a key reversal, but the lithium stocks themselves, obviously this is, all these electric vehicles are going to need power from somewhere. So those have been hot. I don't know if that's the way you want to play it or not, but wow. It's been a pretty impressive 5-6 days for some of these lithium stocks.
Yeah. Full disclosure, same thing in LTHM. I haven't sold a share. I think a little bit higher. I think I was.
Joel never sells. Joel's
yeah,
like Warren Buffett over there. He doesn't sell.
So for this one, just for the LAC, you're open into a pair of lows. Let's see if you can hold. You're actually below that right now. Under 17, it gets dicey, though. That was your 3-day lows. 1569 is your 4-day low. So don't like those kind of areas. And LTHM, I don't want to look at it, but I will just for our fans at home. Down a buck, big run. I would say, yep, take a little bit of a breather. Let's see. Ooh, 24. It looks like a pair of lows and the lower 24 handle.
We should also mention within the context of if you're going to look at NEO and LI and all those today, China is down. There was some tough economic data. Actually, the economic data didn't even seem like it was that bad, but it was below estimates. They had some weak.
Oh boy,
they had some weak industrial output data and retail sales for July over the weekend. So yeah, so all of China's down this morning.
They don't care though.
No, I know. I'm just throwing it out there. You want to talk about Sonos? Let's talk about Sonos.
Yeah.
Here. This was your big mover after hours. We haven't had a good Friday evening news dump in a while, and this was one. It was out Friday afternoon. A judge ruled in favor of Sonos. Google infringed on 5 patents as it relates to Sonos, and Sonos is ripped higher on that news. They're getting an upgrade this morning from Jefferies, but this is a ruling that will allow Sonos to proceed. It will block Google from selling the products that have these patents in them, and it will allow this lawsuit to proceed even further. So good for Sonos.
I've screwed this one right up. This is something that I was bullish ever since Andrew Leff came on the show. We talked about this last week. He came on our show and the stock was $16 and he said somebody's eventually going to buy this. Well, they didn't, but the stock just kept going higher here. Great pick by Citron Research. I bought it that day. The thing kind of doubled for me. I took out a part of my money. Then I just decided I sold it all. And then I watched it go to $44 back in April. I was like, I wish I wouldn't have sold that. It came all the way back down, probably to below where I sold it, but I don't rebuy. Should have rebought it. Now it's going back up again. So love the company, love the stock. Wish it would have got a better pullback to buy off of it. Didn't get any pullback really after earnings. A little bit. And we were bullish when it was up at 38.39 in the pre-market that day. We were saying this could pull back. It got down to 36.13. So maybe a few people took a shot, which would have been good. It wasn't me. I wish it would have got back down to the 35 area. I was a little bit too greedy. Now it's gone without me. I don't know what to say. I'd wait for a pullback now, but I love the company.
Yeah, you're up quite a bit, but it was the old 4 a.m. push, right? Just like the continuation from the after hours market on Friday. And they just get too excited. I mean, this is a 15-minute chart, but I'm sure it happened within 15 seconds. You went to 43.99. And then after, this rocky 2 days, people are taking profits. So, man, you get back up to 43.99. I just kind of feel if you're looking to exit today, you might have to pick a level ahead of that, way away from the gap from yesterday's Friday session. You need to get to 38.72. Really don't see that happening. If you're super bullish and you think this is going to send it to the moon, all-time high is 44.72, but this is just they're allowing them to proceed. Like there hasn't been a settlement, or there hasn't, it's just allowing it to proceed, and they can't use their product. So it's not like they're getting like $1.7 billion or something like this. This is just off lawsuit.
Yeah, it's
moving forward.
Exactly.
Yeah, put your stock in, put the emphasis on it that you want. But until you see like and you know how long these cases and lawsuits and verdicts and some appeal judge comes in and overturns it.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's a
tough
battle.
way to play things, but you're getting a reaction now today. And
You've also got people who were hoping that it'd pull back after the earnings, like myself, and not blast off here again. So you got some chasers in there too.
some big news though, and that was after a big earnings report, right?
Yeah, after the gap up, and then it
Yep.
just quite didn't. It actually tried. It was up like 39 and a half on the earnings report, and it pulled back that day. And we, like I said, that candle from 2 days ago got down to just low 36s, almost filled the gap, but couldn't quite get down there.
Kind of looks like you might. I mean, the old monthly high is around 40, 64. So if you want to try and hold on from that, that's not too far away. Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't want to be short the stock. Okay, so we are into retail earnings season. This week we're going to get Tuesday, Walmart, Home Depot. Wednesday, we're going to see Target, Lowe's. We're also going to throw in some NVIDIA. Thursday, we're going to Kohl's and Macy's and throw in some Applied Materials. And Friday, Deere and Foot Locker. Retail earnings season begins with the big gun, Walmart, tomorrow. Thoughts just as we enter retail earnings season here, Joel? I mean, we had a little lull last week, and now we get right into the retailers. What are you thinking?
Jeez, I mean, it looks like you got a little position squaring ahead in Walmart. You had high of the move, but not the old-time high of the high at 51.58. But it looks like you have someone wiggling out in the lower 150 handle. So just ahead of the report, I respect that as resistance. And then on the downside, absolutely just want to see this hold 149. 3 lows in a row surrounding that area. Your next daily low is $3 lower. So trading range, tradetherange.com, 149 to 150 and a quarter. And didn't they slam this off the last earnings report, right? Didn't they? Can I remember that? Do we have the date? Gap down? Do we have
3 months
that?
ago? Yeah, maybe.
And it came back. I mean, the back to school numbers aren't going to be in, right? You know, unless people were doing some early shopping.
They're not going to be in, but you know what people are saying is it's going to be the biggest back to school season ever. Like, because everyone
to send their kids back to school.
What?
People are pumped to send their kids back.
What's going on over there, Dennis?
We're a go so far. I mean, our cases in Ontario have really, we've come up in the last week, but we're very low. I think we're at 500 a day or something, and all of talking 10 million people. So we're really low right now. But a lot of vaccinations. Ontario, I believe, is shooting something like 82 or 83% are vaccinated now, and 72% are fully vaccinated. So that's helping to bring the cases down. But the Delta, it has come up. We were like 150 cases a day. Now we're up to about 500. So we have come up a little bit there. But right now we're a go on everything. Everything's pretty much open back in Ontario now. So and we're a go for the school. I've signed my kid up for hockey. We're assuming everything a go.
Mass
so as long as Delta.
Are they mandated at school, the masks, or not?
Yeah, they will. They'll have masks. My 4-year-old, I think it's under grade 2.
Really?
Don't wear a mask, and then my boy's gonna be going to grade 2. He'll have to wear a mask.
I tell you, I don't know how Lisa does it with those masks on all day, because at this exhibit we were on, I had it on for 45 minutes, and I was about. Whew.
Well, it depends which mask you're wearing too. I mean, if you're wearing an N95, they're a little tougher to breathe in. If you're wearing a cloth mask, I mean, those aren't
not too bad.
I mean, if you're not used to it, you're not used to it. But I'm just curious from your point of view, Dennis. I mean, are you guys spending a lot of money on back to school stuff this year? Because you didn't have
it's been on Amazon. It's all coming through Amazon. Obviously, we had Amazon boxes showing up at the door with all kinds of stuff in there. So yeah, because we didn't send our kids to school last year. Even like with we were in lockdown, but then we weren't. Then he could go back to school, but with Spencer's asthma, we just decided that we'll just do the virtual school. But it's tough. He didn't have as many friends. Now we're starting to see some people. He's starting to get some socialization in again. You can't keep these kids out of school forever. So, you got to go. And obviously, I've worried about his asthma for a long time, but it's a risk reward, right? He's missing out on, all these social activities. So he's going back into hockey. He signed back into hockey. He's going back to school. September, it's going to be fun, getting back to a little bit of normal.
I like to always think about like the headlines we're going to get. Like I was talking before, like when the Olympics were starting, I was saying how you're going to see headlines about how bad viewership is, and that ended up being the case. You're going to see headlines in a few weeks. You've already seen some. You're going to see more that, oh my god, record, oh my gosh, record spending on back to school this year, like across the board. You're going to see those headlines.
I think so too.
I'm telling you. So
people are spending money everywhere still. Like this is, and obviously Delta, we know in Florida put a little bit of, maybe a pause on this reopening trade, but as long as we keep it somewhat in check, it's still coming. People are not afraid to spend money. You're seeing, even I was out boating in Georgian Bay, and the new yachts you're seeing now around, people are out there and they're spending money. If anything COVID did, it brought this YOLO out, not even for the youngsters, but for for the boomers too. It brought YOLO out in the boomers saying, well, you only live once. I can't, I don't want to just die with this money. I want to enjoy it a little bit more, because I really saw what happened, within the last year, when, you have a virus go around the world and how much it impacted everything. People are spending more money. I even see it in myself to a certain extent, so you see something cool, like not for like me by myself, but I know we're building a house, and I'd always be on the cheaper side of things, but I'm like, you know what? Been working a long time. You want the fancy windows? We'll put the fancy windows. I see it in myself even to a certain extent.
You just can't get them.
Yeah, I mean, it's my grandpa always said, you can't take it with you. You
No.
can't take it with you, right?
Yeah.
So why not spend it? It's 8:32. We're gonna have Tim Quast join us in a couple minutes. We got a question from the chat. Let's look at Roblox. They report tonight. RBLX. They report tonight after the close. Estimates, if I can pull them up for you quickly, in the Benzinga Pro, we are expecting Roblox to make 23 cents per share on revenue of just shy of $700 million.
I don't know. Dennis, I'll let you take a shot at this one. It's kind of no man's land for me.
RBLX?
Yeah.
I got an overnight position. I am long an overnight.
Okay.
That's a trade. So I don't like to actively talk about stocks that I am intending to trade here at the open and in the morning. So I'll just leave my comments out, but I have an active, just an overnighter in it.
No idea what you have going on or what your overnight position is, but I will tell you, people
reports tonight. So
people report tonight.
I like to be long stocks before they report.
Well, let's see if you can get out at the mark, 83.96. And if you get into the 84 handle and you take out that 84.18, I don't think you're going to see 84.71. Good support on the downside. Parallels holding you up at 81.40. So early trading range prediction, 82 and a quarter, 84.16. So we'll see how that plays out today.
All right, go ahead.
Software. Can we talk that one? What a 3-day move. This had earnings. It pulled back initially on the earnings report. I tell you, if you were buying the dip on that initial earnings report, you might not see it on the chart, but in the pre-market, it traded down like 103 or 104, or maybe it was after hours on the earnings, and it has not looked back. This is Pactor. This was a Pactor pick. I bought the thing at 87.
Wow.
And then I got spooked on the overall market, sold it at 100, should not have sold it. Obviously, it's $128 here now. I know my buddy Jeff there, I believe he still has it. So nice trade. I mean, Pactor gave this to us on the show. He said he loved it. I was like, I love when Pactor says I love it, although the Zynga hasn't worked out. But you, unbelievable.
That is with the qualify. You should start, we should start a guest portfolio. And it's just, because it goes back a long time when
Pactor's definitely not always right. The short Netflix or the sell Netflix call.
You never
worse, but he's good, man. He gave me Activision. I doubled my money in that thing.
Yeah.
He gave me the King Gaming with the Candy Crush, and that he says he wanted to own it, and obviously couldn't because he covered the stock. And then it got taken over. I believe it was who bought King Digital.
It was Activision.
No, Activision did buy that one too.
I think so.
Wow, that's going back a long time.
The Candy Crush. I don't know if my mom. I don't think she's playing Candy Crush.
She quit.
Really? She's always at the top, right, with Michael Baxter. They wait every Wednesday to get the new levels, and then they conquer them, and then they move on. But I'm not sure. I don't think she's playing as much Candy Crush now. She's moved on to other video games. She's still gaming. Don't kid yourself. My mom's a gamer.
Okay.
We got to get her on the show sometime.
She'll talk games.
All right, it's 8:36. Everyone go ahead and drop us a like. Let's bring on our guest, Tim Quast for Market Structure Monday. Tim Quast, he's the founder and CEO of Market Structure Edge. Tim, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Nice to see you.
Nice.
Looking good.
Thank you. I see we're back in the normal.
We
setting.
are.
We're back in the normal room.
We had
room.
we had company in from Wisconsin, and so somebody is always wanting to come up to the mountains, and so our company from out of town joined the 34% of humanity that was in Steamboat over the weekend. We had a giant gravel race for those of you who are into bikes. Yeah, gravel's the big deal. And so
were you out there on your bike and you're out there?
I was not.
What kind of bike do you have? Do you have a Harley?
No, you have to pedal these, Joel.
Oh,
these are not, there are no motors here. This is all all about the pedals. So 3,000 people showed up in Steamboat just on the bikes, not counting everybody else who came. And so for the extreme element, it's 144 miles and 9,000 feet of climbing on gravel roads. And I kid you not, the winners of that race, both men and women, do that at averaging over 20 miles an hour on a bike. So for
gravel?
In gravel, yes.
That's
the winner, the men's winner, Alex Howes. He's a professional rider, but he did it in 6 hours and 19 minutes. 144 miles, 9,000 feet in 6 hours and 19 minutes. Do the math on that. I can tell you what it is. That's it. You're doing almost 22 miles an hour for over gravel. Go try that.
Oh no, thank you.
Right.
Should went on Johnson & Johnson over the weekend.
hey Tim, you brought up a good note in your email. I'd forgotten, but Friday is the third Friday of August.
It is.
Friday options expiration. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah. Well, it's I think. Very important to understand the effect that options expirations can have on your positions traders. And if you're trying to trade something that's reporting results, say like Applied Materials, right during options expirations, it is. I like to use the astronomical notion of bent light. Sometimes you can't see planets in deep space, but you can see how light bends because gravity bends light. Well, options are like that. You may not be able to see the effect, but the presence of a possible obstacle to your expected outcome can be seen on the calendar in the form of options expirations. And there are 3 dates that matter, plus the 2 days that follow the expiration period when new options will trade. So we have Wednesday VIX expirations, and this is all volatility as an asset class, and it ties into something else that I hope we have a chance to talk about, which is is buy and hold better than trading? Well, if it was, why would everybody try to diminish volatility? I have them in my managed accounts. JP Morgan offers hundreds of billions of dollars of low volatility strategies. Double Line Capital does the same thing. Jeff Gundlach got those too. Everybody tries to reduce the effect of volatility because it erodes returns. If you bought equities, if you entered the market in December of 2016, and then you panicked in March of 2020, you would have made 0% over 5 years. That's how significant the effect of short-term volatility is. So that's Wednesday. Thursday, our index, AM-dated index expirations, which the Europeans love. It's our only European-style option in the market. And then Friday, to your point, Spencer, is triple witching, when index options and futures and stock options expire. And this matters because almost 20% of the total market cap, so we have a market cap of 50 trillion. So, do the math on that. 20%, $10 trillion. $10 trillion of market cap ties in some way to a derivative. And so it's very important to understand whether people are increasing or decreasing risk. And what do you think it might be? And would the data tell us? I like to tiptoe very carefully around those because they destroy returns. And why would you want to just, destroy all the great thinking you've done by simply hanging around when you know there could be a black hole in the market?
We've got a few ticker requests for you, Tim.
Okay.
If you want to pull up
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay. TJ Mosley. I'm just going to pick one, TJ. Let's just do Rocket here because they reported last Thursday, I want to say. Thursday morning, I think. Maybe Thursday afternoon.
All right.
RKT.
Let's go to the. It says improperly Benzinga Power Hour. This is a power hour.
This is
but this is not the power hour, but we'll just it is Benzinga.
Tell us what the supply and demand is saying on
all right, let's look at that.
We can't get our own slides.
That's extra. That's extra, Joel.
We bring the guy on.
That's extra.
And now we're second fiddle. Go ahead, Tim. I mean, at least you got the Benzinga thing right.
That's right. It's a Monday, so I feel like that's a small victory. So Rocket is at. So remember, for those of you who have observed this before, there's a fulcrum of supply and demand, and it's 5. We simply created a scale of supply and demand in the market that is a 10-point scale, and so gains tend to come above 5. In fact, here's a little tidbit for you. I've ran data over the weekend looking at returns in the SPY, so a proxy for the S&P 500, and we're going to look at Rocket. So bear with me here. From July 1, 2015 to present, that just happened to be the data set that I had that was ready. And so in that data set, when the market is below 5, there were effectively 0 returns over the whole time. So you would say, well, why would I own the market if it's under 5, if there are no returns? And by the way, when it's over 7, only 5% of the returns in the market come when sentiment is over 7, meaning 95% of them lie somewhere between 5 and 7. Well, why would I own the market over 7 then? So it's the significance of volatility. And realize that's 1,528 trading days. So over 1,528 trading days, if you avoid the times when the market is below 5 or over 7, you're likely to capture 95% of the gains. And realize there are huge losses that occur below 5. I looked at the data for when the market is below 4, and the SPY lost 80 points. So over the whole time, from July 1, 2015 to present, it has added 239 points. Well, take a third of that away, which means you have to refill that ditch just to get back to level. Well, what if you retire during that period of time? So that's the significance of volatility. So let's look at Rocket. It's 5 and bottom. Tells me it's right at the supply-demand fulcrum. It's 49% short. Short volume is supply. That's the supply chain. When it's over 50, there is excessive supply, and it's much more difficult for stocks to rise no matter how much demand there is. If it's low, I say around 40. So this is a balancing act. This is people betting both long and short on Rocket, and you can see how it jumped, right? So let's see what's going to happen. I like to say go back 3 months because 3 months is a good proxy for what's occurring. Here was a great time to buy Rocket. Right when demand increases and supply declines, that's where you capture gains. And then when demand begins to falter and supply begins to rise, leave. You won't capture everything, but you can get a very nice return and know something that nobody else does, the supply-demand balance. Then here's where we are now. So you have a nice move in price. Short volume is very high but declining. Demand is right at 5. So what's the likelihood of holding these gains? Well, it's reasonable, but it's not great. You're unlikely to get massive gains unless that equation changes.
Okay.
We had the big
1960, man. Yeah. That's all I could get. I can't get that out of my mind. 1955, 1960. Hit that on Friday. Going back a couple days. So bust through there. I like it. And then you work your way up to 20. Also, last month's high was right there. So there you go. That's definitely a big level.
How much does a gap up in price, like a sudden gap up in price in RKT off of earnings, change, your indicators?
It depends on who's doing it. Because there are different purposes and time horizons. It's a great question. And once again, we think of the stock market as a store, and there are consumers who come into the store, and there are consumers who are, buying potato chips, and consumers who are buying big pallets of bottled water. Let's just use that as an analogy. So if we look at the behavior that caused that spike, it is fast trading. These are the parties that buy retail flow. So Citadel, Virtu, Hudson River Trading, somebody now is getting into that. Tower Research, I think, is getting into that business. Jump Trading is getting into that business. Infinium, GTS, and so on. They don't just buy retail flow, but that tells us it's a very, very short-term horizon. Could there be bets into options expirations? Absolutely. One of the favorite strategies of short-term traders is chasing 5-day out-of-the-money calls into options expirations. Because they move, and then people get caught up in it because they're unaware they're about to expire, and you can get caught. So I look at that and say, if it was passive money, which is the great engine of the market, that might be different. But nothing in this entire portfolio has passive money leading right now, interestingly. If you looked at Generac up here at 4.4 up, 38% short, huge liquidity, and people are buying calls on it. Well, that has some appeal to me. That there's something there. If you were betting that the hurricane season is going to intensify, but you want to know whether you should buy Generac, well, there's a great way to think about it. It's not whether Generac is going to benefit from a storm season. It's whether supply demand benefits you. That's how you should think about this. I don't care what you like. If you say, well, the work from home trade is back, so let's look at Zoom. You always want to look at anything that you're trading through a supply-demand lens, because that's how you are able to keep gains that other people will not understand are about to go away. You want to keep your gains. That's the whole point of trading, right, Dennis? We want profitable trades, not unprofitable ones.
I mean, that's what we're always trying to do, even on this show, is just predict flow. And your data is trying to show the flow. Like, we're trying to predict, okay, is this story have the potential to get hot? I like to be long stocks heading into earnings because it's predictable that there's this, upward bias ahead of an earnings report. I don't know what the earnings report is going to bring, but I know owning a stock a few days before it reports tends to show some positive alpha, as opposed to being short a stock before it reports. So, and owning a stock like Generac in the hurricane season tends to, work out well from a quantitative model. So, that's what we're looking at always at Bright Trading is, we're looking at seasonality, statistical probabilities. You just got it all in a nice little format here for us where we don't have to break down the why. We just look, boom. So. And the beautiful thing is you're applying a rationale that takes into consideration what you're applying logic, right? And hedge funds do this. So one of the pods at Millennium told me some time ago, big one. Pods, by the way, little tidbit again for you traders to understand how hedge funds work. So Millennium has a huge hedge fund, 20 billion, and they'll lever it 8 or 9 times. So you're talking about $250 billion worth of economic value in the marketplace, and they will have 50 different teams internally. They all compete with each other. So one of those pods told me they make 2/3 of their returns around earnings because they will lever long or short based on the things that they think might happen. Well, we can see that, right? We're going to know which direction people are betting. We'll know by short volume. So if a hedge fund is levered in, we're going to see risk management as the lead behavior. And then we want to know, well, what's the trend in short volume? Is it down or up? And it will tell us. We don't even have to be in Millennium to know what Millennium's doing. And it could be an advantage when you're trying to trade around earnings. Always about supply and demand. That's the beautiful thing about the market. And of course, and Spencer, you probably have already mentioned this to people because this is naturally what comes to our minds. When things are rising, what comes to mind? Stein's law, Ben Stein's dad. If something cannot last forever, it will stop. You want to know, right? You want to know when it's going to stop so that you can avoid the steep decline that tends to follow that.
That's exactly what comes to my mind, Tim. How do you know?
I knew that's what you were thinking.
Yeah,
Spencer.
guys, Tim
Yeah.
Quast joins our show every single Monday. The link to his platform, Market Structure Edge, is in the description of this video. Check it out. Tim, always a pleasure.
And I might add to that. I'll just tack it on as in a shamelessly self-serving way. You can try this. If you haven't tried Edge, come try it for free. Just put your name and email address in. By the way, we have grown 1,600% since the start of the year. The people, this platform is catching on because it's very simple to understand. Supply and demand, whatever you like to trade, test it. It won't cost you a dime. You don't need a credit card. Give it a try. It may not be right for you. But it is a great way to think about the market, supply and demand in context of rules.
You guys, you guys might be getting near 10 then. If you've grown 1,600%,
we're slamming the sentiment against.
You're 10. You're going to create an 11 on that.
This one goes to 11 for those.
Well, just going just real quick, leading into the expiration here. I mean, big run up. Pull back today for whatever reasons. I mean, what do you think? I mean, it looked like we just could have like the big run all week. Now we had the little stumble here. Dennis made an excellent point. This was a couple days ago on Palantir. He was talking about a 25 ping and kind of ended up under that for a week. Do you have can you correlate a level in the S&P where there's just that crazy open interest, or is it little early to determine for this week?
Well,
I'll tell you.
So the way that we think about that data, I was checking here. I don't have it open anymore.
Okay.
We have all kinds of ways to think about. I'll tell you what I think. What we watch is how money behaves in context of the rules, and there are rules and practices in the market that are observable. And these are, again, traders, important things to keep in mind. We people who have retirement accounts and pump money into 401ks tend to do that first thing in the month. Well, that money's got to get deployed. So then we can go look at the data and say, well, are we seeing passive flows to equities? They were delayed in August. Usually that happens in the first few days. They arrived last week. And by Friday, they were effectively done. So
gotcha.
That feeds into options expirations. What happens at options expirations? Well, people true up their tracking. The biggest consumers of options and futures are index funds and exchange traded funds, who can use about 10% of their assets in those instruments to ease volatility and make sure they're tracking the model. And then you got people who hedge and bet directionally.
And roll it over.
How does that look going in? Well, broad market sentiment has bottomed and is rising, but it's very weak. It's 5.5. It's about 5.5. So we know there's more demand than supply. But if it peaks ahead of options expirations, look out next week when new options trade. If we don't have the same level of demand for new options that we did for old options, the market goes down. There you go.
Thanks, Tim.
You got it.
Thanks, Tim.
Have a good week, guys.
You too. All right. I put it in the chat. Drop those tickers in. We'll take a look. There are a few that are catching my eye here. Let's look at Robinhood. The
hood, yeah.
Over the weekend, I think it may have been Friday, I think I saw a report that there had been some mention of some kind of congressional interest in payment for order flow, and taking a look at that, and that line just got stricken out of
Gasparino.
Right.
That out.
Right. So basically, Congress is punting on payment for order flow for now. So
they're gonna. And this is
punt
gonna be the
forever.
issue. I know they have. I mean, payment for order flow has been brought up. I've brought this to the attention of the regulators for a decade. On behalf of Bright Trading, and also on behalf of the CFA Institute. So we've looked at different. Obviously, I've given presentations. I've went there multiple times talking about payment for order flow. It's tough. Like I said, there's good arguments on both sides of this. We know the argument that zero commissions, payment for order flow, obviously helps to subsidize zero commissions. If we were to ban payment for order flow, all of a sudden we don't have zero commissions. I mean, that would be what the regulators don't want to see happen. There's arguments that there's still other ways that they can make money. They can make money without payment for order flow. We know the conflicts of interest exist. We know why off-exchange market makers do it. It's to get ahead of the queue. It's so that they can obviously have first dibs on those orders from Robinhood. That's the reason they do it. They make money from those orders. We know that, or they wouldn't be buying them. But this is a direct this is a direct benefit payment for order flow for Robinhood. So as this, if you're trading HOOD as headlines look, and it's saying, okay, well, if they're going to punt away on payment for order flow, it's good for Robinhood, because if Robinhood lost payment for order flow, their revenues would drop substantially. So big portion of their revenue, the majority of it, is from payment for order flow. So if you're a Robinhood shareholder, you're very interested in how this payment for order flow is going to end. But from a technical basis, if we just want to look to technicals,
yep, that's what I'm going to
do. 47.52. You kind of got a little double bottom. We'll go because it's been so volatile. I'll call it a double bottom the last 2 days, which is a good sign. So if I was in Robinhood, I'm not. If I was in it at 50, I would probably be stopping myself under 47.5. But it's a wild stock. I've traded it, day traded a few times. It's a hard stock to, because it's so wild. And if you're using stops, you seem to get stopped out on everything when a stock is still this wild.
A couple things here. One, I mean, you got to remember that the 98 million shares went out to the market 3 days after the IPO. So that's, someone was saying cha-ching. The other thing here is, man, and it's easy. This is easy level trading for you. You filled the gap. You had to gap up on that crazy day, right? And the top of that range was 48.59. You undercut it. You hit 47.52 a couple days ago. So the gap is filled. So, listen up, Little John, Prince John, Friar Tuck, King Richard. Y'all have to you got to make a bid here. This is really, you got to make a stand here. Maybe not even just have to go up today, but at least hang in here and turn it up. I put that 59 in there because after that big offering, that's 50% of the move. So, if you're playing a short-term trade, maybe ride it up to 59. But right now, the Reddit boys or whoever it's trading this, got to make a stand here, or else you start to work your way into this candle.
All right, we'll look at DoorDash, and this is one that we talked about last week. It got hit on earnings and then gained all those losses back the following day. And this is a question from BJ. Says BJ is short DoorDash. BJ is short DoorDash at 203.
I don't know. So somebody in the chat is short?
Yes.
How'd you 203?
Well, it's been a long time
for a while ago.
For a long time then. It hasn't been there since February. So
and maybe there was some was there after hours trading that we missed? No,
not the 203.
I don't think so.
No.
Well, if you're short the 203,
it's a tough candle if you're short it too. I mean, we've talked about the Delta variant, and DoorDash has benefited in the last month and a half from people starting to worry once again about COVID, and we've seen the clear downtrend in reopening stocks in the last month and uptrend in some of the stay-at-home stocks and many of the stay-at-home stocks. This is still a stay-at-home stock that's delivering the food to you. I do believe there's going to be competition eventually coming for this. I don't understand the valuation, but there are certain stocks that valuation doesn't matter. Right now, DoorDash is all about story. The story is still hot. And if, we go into a situation where Delta keeps spreading, Dash probably continues to go higher along with the Pelotons and the Zoom, because these all get lumped together there. So this is more of a Delta play, I believe, than, a long-term, that everybody's going to be ordering on DoorDash, because I think competition.
That's so expensive, isn't it? Don't they just
the take is unbelievable.
And they take your fries.
They take your fries. They eat a couple French fries on the way.
The take is the fries. That's what they don't mention.
Yeah.
The guy comes, his
really
fingers are all greasy. And they're like, what were you doing? This is a tough chart. That was a big candle yesterday. I would say major resistance 194.5, and then on the downside, you undercut that 187. I'd say, and we're $14 away from 177, so I don't think you get too excited on the short side until you take out 170. 177.15 was the low on Friday, and then today they had earnings up and down all around. Let's see what they do with that close at 194.79. But I'm going to let you guys take it away here. I'm going to try and cover all these tickers we missed on PreMarket Prep Plus. Remember, go to premarketprep.com, sign up for the event, whether you're from Mars, Pluto,
We're not just taking international,
No?
we're taking out people from other planets as well now.
If you're
Planets?
if you're
I
from
don't know.
Mars, don't come. We don't want you.
All
don't
right.
want
Everyone, have a good day, and
We don't
I'll
like
catch up with you
Martians.
later on.
All right. Yeah. Thanks a lot, Joel. Thanks a lot, Dennis. And I'll see you. We'll talk to you tomorrow, man.
Congratulations once again, Mr. Israel, for those joining us late. He got engaged over the weekend. So congratulations, buddy.
I did. I took the plunge. All right. Let's bring on Matt Hammond. Preview the week in IPO land. Matt is from IPOwarriors.com. He's got a newsletter out every week previewing how he will approach the IPO slate from a trading point of view. And we'll recap also what happened last week with regards to the IPOs and how he approached them. Matt, I just lost you on your camera. That's strange. I just had you, and now I think I still have you, but your camera's unplugged or something. What happens if I just bring you on here? Matt, you hear me? You hear me, Matt? Hey.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry,
We're back.
quick little battery change there.
Yeah.
Congratulations on getting engaged. That's big news.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Out of focus.
Let's talk about last week. Unless we can just talk about like wedding stuff. That's cool too. But I imagine you're here to talk.
Not a lot going on in IPO world, so
okay.
We want to get back into. Been married twice, still married the second time. Have a kid. I know more than I wish to know about it, but yeah, you got to go in optimistically. 50% out of marriages work out fine. So the odds are. You know what though?
It was last Friday. It was Friday the 13th. So if it does not work out, we'll know why.
There you go. You already have blame built in.
It was doomed from the start. Okay, Matt, let's bring off the slides here. Let's go into the slate.
Sure. And since we have a light, there's not a lot light content. If people want to go into asking questions about kind of IPO strategies after this, I was just checking. It's been a really great year. I'm up about $175,000 on what started at about 40, a nut of about 40,000 to start with. So you can make a lot of money in this, and I know I've helped a lot of people make a lot of money with this strategy. They kind of trade alongside me. I can't say I'm leading so much as just part of a group that has adopted these strategies. But if people want to put some questions in there about how the strategy works or how to try to trade IPOs, we might have some time to answer some of those questions. We're usually so slammed that for weeks we were trying to cover 10, 15 IPOs each week plus the trades from the week before. So now we have a little bit of time to kind of sit back and say, okay, well, how does this strategy work? So before we do that, let's check it. What was trading last week? There were only about 3 IPOs anyway. 2 of them gave win opportunities, kind of, if you continued on followed some of the trends that we talked about last week, which were, play the dip. If you are going to play these, don't just buy all in right off the debut. There's no reason to do that right now. We haven't seen anything really just jump straight off the open. So what I have been doing is sort of, on the few that I've played, I've been watching it open, and as it drops down, build a little position, because the tendency has been for these to come back up to VWAP or give you a second day run. And if you don't have anything else that you're trying to day trade, if you're not really a day trader, but you like trading IPOs, these do have a sort of resilience and elasticity to them, where when they drop a certain amount, even we've seen this in the biotechs, which is a little bit less common, and we have seen more biotechs just completely fall off than standard stocks, but the opportunity to play these dips has been there, and that's where the opportunity is. And when you're not getting the blockbuster home run IPO plays, there are other opportunities to make some money. So Therapeutics, I didn't play this. I usually won't play biotech. Unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of other things to play, and I'm still watching these. I'm trying to understand the patterns and see if my hypothesis for trading strategies holds true. And in this case, we did see, again, this opportunity where if you were playing this, you either got in early, and you had a couple opportunities to take very, modest, $1, $2 wins rate in the opening hour of trading if you did buy in on the debut. But if you're watching this and you see, okay, well, it opened at 16 and now it's dropping to 15 and 14 and 13.67. If you bought, you don't want to go all, if your target is, say, to buy 100 shares, you don't buy 100 shares right off this first dip and assume that you've called the bottom here. You might start with 20 shares and then add another 30 shares, add 40 shares. And then when it stops dropping, you kind of, you tie it up your position. You're going to say, okay, well, I think that this might have either an end of day run, which you saw here, or if you like what the end of day run has indicated, maybe you say, okay, well, I'm going to take some profits here at the end of the day, but maybe we get a day 2 run. And if you did that on this trade, it worked out really well for you. It actually peaked at its current all-time high here at almost 23. So you could have taken profits at, say, 22 or 22.50. I like to eyeball, where is my exit and set a limit order. I'm not trying to sell, to time this. But there are trades still available is my point here. DATS, keep an eye on this one for today, guys. This is a super low float IPO that sort of snuck onto the calendar last Thursday. It's something that they do encrypted blockchain-based chat with a whole bunch of secure.
What does it even mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of buzzwords. That's what's important. It's a little bit like Snapchat in the terms that you can burn your. I checked into it, and people are interested in it, but it's just one of those things where it's super low float. It's 2.9 million shares. Wasn't promoted at all in terms of, it wasn't even on the calendars for the NASDAQ on the day of the IPO. So the whole week it wasn't on. We didn't talk about it Monday. It didn't show up till Thursday. I sent out a newsletter saying, hey, this looks kind of interesting. This is one of those IPOs where I think if they had been on the calendar from the beginning of the week, there would have been enough buzz created to give this a little bit more of a run. But it's hanging in there right at this, in this opening zone. You didn't need to buy this one on the debut. When it dropped down, you could take, or at least if you did buy on the debut, build your position down a little bit to get your cost basis down to about 360, 370, which is where it's at right now, pre-market. But this kind of it picked up a bit of chatter during the day on Friday, and that's what pulled it back up here. And you got a lot of these trading groups saying, hey, this is interesting. It's blockchain, it's crypto, it's chat. It's some kind of cybersecurity stuff built into it. And now there's a little bit more buzz this morning. And with 2.9 million shares, these super low float IPOs, that sometimes has been enough for these to just catch a little bit of a wind. It doesn't take a whole lot of volume to send this up. So at 360, 350, if you can build a little position here before it takes off, there's not a huge downside to that. But the upside could easily be $3 profit. It could easily touch $5 or $6 or $7. And you don't want to stay in this long term, but it is something that doesn't take very much. It's like a powder keg. It doesn't take much of a spark to send these low float recent IPOs on a bit of a run. And they almost all have done that within, the first week or two of their debut. If it didn't happen right away, we saw it sometimes take a month even. ALF, gave a bit of a run on day 2, day 3, but then it was about a month later where this one headline about, we're putting 10,000 units into rideshare cars, and the stock went to from $4 or $5 to $20 within 2 or 3 days. So when you have low float, when you have something that's got kind of buzzy catchphrases, not biotech, it's something a little different. This one just IPO'd on Friday. At least keep an eye on it, and maybe a little bit of a lotto ticket play. So this week's IPOs, we only have 2. We've got Renovo RX and Aspire Global, which has probably set the record now for the most times I've covered this on this show, because every week it seems to get moved back. Renovo RX is a biotech. It's a little bit interesting for 2 reasons. One is it's already at phase 3. It's they do a kind of localized chemotherapy for solid tumors. It's like they create sort of I would say it's like targeted chemo in the sense that they can isolate if I'm remembering this properly, they isolate the kind of system, or like the blood vessels around a tumor, and then they concentrate the chemo, just to that area. So you're not giving the whole body chemo, you're giving it just in solid tumors. And what's interesting is that they're not really creating like new drugs. It's more reformulations of existing approved drugs. So they might not need as much money as the theory to get drugs past phase 3. They're already in phase 3. And the other thing that's just a little bit interesting is that you've got a super low float of just 1.85 million shares. So anytime we see a really low float, the IPO trading market is really bored these days. So it wouldn't take more than a handful of trading groups to say, hey, you know what, this one's interesting. Let's pile in to send this, on a bit of a run. Probably won't play it anyway. It's just an interesting one to watch. But do you have something to say about this one, Spencer?
Yeah, no, not about this, but David Connor is asking about what brokerage you use. And David, it really depends. You can use platforms like Webull. Will give you access to some. Robinhood will give you access to some now.
Let me clarify something on this. I'm not trading. My IPO strategy is not to buy the IPO.
Right.
I pretty much don't count on getting any allocation. The allocations that E-Trade has given me were DD and Krispy Kreme, which were not great IPOs. They weren't like huge premium. My strategy is not to rely on getting any allocation of, say, Snowflake. It was not like with Snowflake, I didn't get an allocation at 120 and then just get to sell it when it debuted at 245.
Right.
I'm buying at 245 on a play like Snowflake when it debuts and selling once it reaches my target, which in that case was 300. So my strategy is not to get an allocation. It's kind of, I've mentioned this before, you don't necessarily want to be a part of any of these clubs that will have you. In other words, if it's a IPO that is willing to give, especially a large allocation to retail, it's probably a good indication that there's not going to be a huge retail demand once it starts trading. So the platforms I use for trading these, I use Webull and I use E-Trade. Those are just kind of personal preference from what I started with. I think that Webull makes it a bit easier to trade quickly, especially for these IPOs that do pop right off the debut and you're wanting to say modify a trailing stop loss as the price goes up. I find the interface, whether you're on mobile or your computer, very easy to adjust your trades and enter them. E-Trade is a little bit more like it takes you, like it's reloading the new frames, reloading pages to get you to confirm your order after you try to place it. And that, especially when about a year ago, when there were a lot of IPOs and a lot of hot ones, there was also a lot of other volatility in the market. We were seeing these trading platforms kind of freeze up, and E-Trade at least once or twice put me in, made me sweat quite a bit in terms of waiting for the loading, the confirmation page, all that. Whereas I found Webull was super fast. It was just, when I wanted to exit, I was able to exit incredibly quickly compared to E-Trade. That being said, Webull often messes up these tickers on day one. I mean, IPOs, everyone thinks that this is all a really super smoothly well-oiled machine. But a lot of times these trading platforms mess things up. And I've had E-Trade mess them up as well, where, we're talking about new tickers that haven't traded before.
Yeah.
And especially with Webull, we've had quite a few people in my group complaining like, man, Webull screwed me again. And it happens. You put in the ticker and it goes, this stock isn't supported for trading. So it's good to have a couple platforms. I've also seen where E-Trade has given allocations to other, to some retail traders on its platform, then will not open the ticker for pre-debut trading until just minutes before it goes live. And in at least one case, I think it was Figs, I wasn't able to buy in until after it started trading, which for that one, you wanted to buy in right on the debut because it went up right away. And on the hottest IPOs, that's what you're expecting. So having a couple platforms helps. I find E-Trade to be overall more reliable, and whereas Webull has really kind of screwed up a few times and either not allowing a ticker to be traded or even completely messing up. I think it was Alf that Webull got really screwed up with, and it couldn't keep it didn't have the right ticker symbol. It got screwed up between the warrants and the ticker. Some of the uplistings have been the same things, where things are going from OTC to the NASDAQ, which is typically the path that they're going.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, typically this is par for the course for, you know, retail trading platforms. They're all gonna have the same kinds of problems, right? I mean, it's kind of just the way it is, unfortunately, right? With regards to, you have new tickers, that means new data, and it's just that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Like, there's going to be times where your platform, whatever platform you're on, right? Fidelity, Webull, whatever.
It's like any website. Sometimes it's going to have downtime. Sometimes it's going to have spikes in traffic. Sometimes it's not going to be able to handle. Yeah, you know, it's just that much more critical when you're trying to trade something.
Yes.
In real time.
Yes.
Another point on that, though, is that it appears to me that there are. I mean, it's not just the NASDAQ having one like trading desk through which all shares and transactions are funneled. There's multiple trading desks within each, within each market. And I find that I'm able to get better liquidity in E-Trade than Webull. And sometimes I'm able, a lot of times that the level 2 data that I'm seeing on Webull appears to be incomplete compared to what I'm seeing in E-Trade. And I've been able to get out of positions with E-Trade at a few cents higher than what Webull even showed it, the stock reaching. So I'll be like, okay, it's trading at 43. I want to exit at 43.25, and Webull shows the peak at 43.15. But somehow on E-Trade, my trades got executed, where the same trade that I had, on my in my Webull account didn't get executed. So to me, it feels like I'm getting better liquidity in E-Trade than with Webull, and that kind of would make sense if you believe that E-Trade is more established and has more kind of trading desks than Webull.
All right, let's. Are there any more tickers we didn't get to yet?
It was Aspire Global. We've talked about it weeks after weeks now. The IPO date now, last week it was August 13th. Now it's being scheduled for August 20th. It's OEM manufacturer for vaping products based out of China. And 15 million share float, but this thing is still available for pre-order on Webull. And to me, that just shows, if it keeps rescheduling it and it's still available after 5 weeks, and it's China and it's vaping, I mean, to me, this is just, I don't want to go near this at all. So I wouldn't even mention it, except that it feels sort of like my responsibility to mention the IPOs that are coming up. But you know what? We've seen each week, like, things get added during the week, and sometimes they're interesting ones. Sometimes they're low float. Sometimes it's something that was, filed a couple weeks ago. We've talked last week about how many IPOs have been rescheduled, including some really strong ones, or companies that look very strong. So we don't know if maybe Tuesday or Wednesday they decide, well, the market actually looks pretty strong right now. Let's go through, let's continue with our IPO. Then the calendar can look very different by Friday than it does on Monday morning. So stay tuned. Sign up for the newsletter at IPOwarriors.com. I send out updates. I tell people, hey, this one was added. Watch it. It's interesting. These have been rescheduled. This one all of a sudden is getting a lot of hype. As I see things evolve, I update the community and trade accordingly.
All right, Matt Hammond, again, the link that he just mentioned is in the description, IPOwarriors.com. It's on the screen right there as well. Talk to you next Monday, man.
All right, have a good week, Spencer.
All
Take care.
All right, before we go, I just want to bring to your attention a couple of headlines that we broke, that the Benzinga Pro news desk, I should say, broke exclusively this morning. I'll bring them up on my screen here. This is from the Benzinga Pro news feed. So 3 tickers in question. First one, IFBD, Infobro. They're launching a WeChat call center and a new intelligent SaaS, that's software as a service product. So that's IFBD. That was at 7:45. At the same time as that, we had Calm Sovereign or COM Sovereign, ticker COMS. They are going to resume volume shipments of their fastback radio products. And with a large U.S. mobile network operator, they declined to say who it was. But the value of these orders are valued at nearly $9 million. And then ticker, scroll up here, TRKA, that's Troika Media Group, is going to provide branding and marketing services to the 6th Honor of Kings esports tournament. So just to give you an idea of the value of those headlines by themselves, don't mean a whole lot, right? But you bring them up on the charts and you see some movement, and then they mean something, right? They're worth something. So here's the IFBD news. There's what that stock did this morning, trading up 6% on that headline. Ticker COMS, Com Sovereign, trading up 6% on that headline as well. And ticker TRKA also, it spiked higher, but is now down 1% in the pre-market session. So just 3 headlines in the Benzinga Pro newsfeed, exclusive to us. You only got them if you subscribe to Benzinga Pro, which you can do, pro.benzinga.com. You can also get a free 2-week trial. If you're not subscribed, check it out. See what you like, what you don't like. And if you are a subscriber, you have any questions, you want someone to walk you through the platform, you don't know how to use it, that's fine. Email us. You can always email onboarding. It's on the bottom of the screen there. Onboarding@benzinga.com. ONBOARDING. Onboarding@benzinga.com to learn more. All right. That's going to be a wrap for our show today. I know we tried to cover as many tickers as we could. We never get to all of them. I apologize. We will try harder. If you want to stay on with us, David Green is going to be live trading the open for us next on our channel. He'll be going 9:30 to 11. This stream will end. It'll redirect to David, and then he'll just roll with it. Thank you to everyone for all. Genuinely, thank you to everyone for all the best wishes and congratulations today. Very, very much appreciate that. I will be tweeting out some pictures. If you care about such things, I'll be tweeting out some pictures at some point today. It was a big moment. I kept it a secret. I didn't tell Joel. I thought it would be funnier. I thought if I told Joel and Dennis live on this show, but Dennis already found out somehow. I guess Facebook. So thank you to all of you. It really does mean a lot to me. I appreciate all the thoughts. And yeah, it means a lot. I don't know what else to say. I'm sort of speechless about it. So thank you very much. Okay. Smash that like button, please, everyone. And thank you. Where's my like GIF? There it is. And thanks to our guests today, Tim and Matt. Thanks to all of you in chat. As always, there's the YouTube chat, which is great. There's the Benzinga.com chat, which is still going. Reminder, 13Fs, if you care about such things, are going to come out probably at the close today. So Warren Buffett is probably the one that's interesting, Berkshire Hathaway, but just have that on your radar. Also, reminder, we mentioned Tesla today, but I did not mention the Tesla AI Day is on Thursday. Again, have that on your radar. News, we don't know what news. We know they're under investigation now, but there's going to be some kind of a thing on Thursday. We'll find out what, but it could move stock. So have that on your radar. All right, David Green's going live now. I'm going to end. Everyone, I will see you guys later.
All right, we ready, David?